This critical reasoning argument is a conversation style argument between Jess and Sam. So you've been presented each of their opinions. Now the question stem here, interestingly, doesn't explicitly say weaken Jess or strengthen Jess, or weaken Sam or strengthen Sam. But one of those two is what we are going to be doing here. So I'll walk you through how to interpret the question stem and what we are looking to do as part of our discussion. But first, let's read and understand what Jess and Sam are saying in this argument. So let's start with Jess. To be a woman in this century is far better than to be a woman in centuries past. So this century is a much better century than earlier centuries. All of them is what Jess is saying, like it's centuries past, so any time before, right? That's a qualitative judgment you're making about how women are living and whether it's nice to be in this century or whether it's nice to be in an earlier century. Very likely this is going to be the conclusion that Jess is arriving at in this argument because of the judgment that she's making in the sentence. But let's read the rest of the sentences to make sure we understand what Jess is trying to say. Life expectancy for women has for the first time surpassed that for men. So life expectancy is how long you expect someone to live. So women are living longer than men. And this is the first time that has happened. And while only 20% of college students in the late 1800s were women, today almost 60% of college students are women. So yes, the first sentence is clearly the conclusion that Jess is arriving at. And Jess is arriving at this conclusion based on two factors. Women are living longer, and compared to the late 1800s, there are more women in college. A greater percentage of college students are women. Alright, now let's look at Sam's response to Jess's argument. However, there's clearly some part of Jess's argument that Sam is disagreeing with. But we need to check out what exactly she's disagreeing with. It's not necessary that Sam has to disagree with Jess's conclusion. However, women educated in the top ranked colleges in the country earn only about 70% of what their male counterparts earn. So here she's talking about the number of college students, or the percentage proportion of college students rather. And here we are talking not about the number of college graduates or the percentages, but about their salaries. So Sam is bringing in a new information that was not there in Jess's discussion. Also, studies show that even today, in a number of industries, women are refused top management positions simply because they are women. So Sam's points are very career oriented, aren't they? Women are not earning as much as the men are, and women are also refused top management positions simply because they are women. Right? So two specific things that Sam is bringing in. Is Sam's conclusion explicitly stated anywhere in the paragraph? No. Is Sam saying that the past centuries were better for women than present centuries? No. Sam is only talking about the present. She's not making a comparison with the past like Jess did, talking about the late 1800s. And Sam is only focusing on whether today is a nice period in time for women, right? Because she's saying it's far better than the centuries past, but Sam is like, even now it's not that great, right? Whether it's better or not, she's actually not addressing. She's not directly countering Jess's argument. She's not making that comparison with the past, but has an issue with whether or not the present is a nice time for women. Now the question says, which of the following is Jess most likely to say as a response to Sam? So you're looking at this question from Jess's perspective. If it has to be something that Jess says in response to Sam, then Jess will not necessarily agree with Sam, right? Because there is disagreement already between Jess and Sam. And Jess has to continue to validate her viewpoint that today is better than the past. So what this question type is actually asking you to do, it's asking you to strengthen Jess's argument despite the information that Sam has brought in. So you have to address the points that Sam has brought in a manner that strengthens Jess's argument. So let's understand Sam's points and what she has talked about and what Jess has talked about. So Jess talks about two things, right? Life expectancy was one factor, and then percentage of college kids was another factor. Now Sam talks about earnings, right? And she talks about top management positions. If Jess has to respond to Sam, who talks only about salary and top management positions in many industries, and then just says something that is not career related. Right? For example, women's health is better. She continues talking something about life expectancy. In high school graduation, 80% of high school graduates are women. Would she necessarily be accurately responding to Sam's argument in a manner that strengthens Jess's? Not really. Those are points that do sound like things that Jess would say, provided she was not responding to Sam, provided she was just coming up with, out of the blue reasons for women's lives in the current century being better than centuries past. But now that Sam has specifically brought in career, she has to address that. She doesn't have to necessarily say, no, you're wrong, women actually earn more salary than you think, they get a bonus or something like that. But she has to talk about some element of the career orientation that Sam has brought into the discussion. Let's look at each of our answer options from that perspective. Women today are healthier and live longer than women in the 1800s, when women primarily died of childbirth. Is that something that Jess is prone to say? Yes. Is it something that responds to Sam's argument? No. So Jess by herself can make this point, but not as a response to Sam. And because it's not a response to Sam, it doesn't address the point that Sam has raised, we can actually go ahead and eliminate A. Let's check the next option. There are more women at the entry level jobs of most industries than there are men. So this is career focused. But our problem is Sam talked about the top management and said there aren't women at the top management. And then if I have just coming and saying that at entry level positions we do have a lot more women than men, then in some ways she's not validating her own argument, right? Because if at the entry level there are more women, but then at the top management you don't have women, then that means that women are being unfairly prejudiced against, like Sam suggests, which means you're more validating Sam's argument than Jess's argument. So is this statement supporting Jess's viewpoint? No. And for that reason we can eliminate Bravo. Let's look at C. Women today are better able to juggle professional and personal lives, and many are proving to be successful single mothers. Now this statement also seemingly talks about, the career of women, because it talks about professional and personal success and talks about successful single mothers. But the problem here is, does it talk about the prevailing conditions for women and about how whether it's a nice time to be a woman or not to be a woman? It doesn't do that. It doesn't address these conditions. It talks about the ability of women to judge different aspects of their life, but it's not talking about how women are treated at the workplace, whether women are being treated fairly, which are the points that Sam is raising in her argument. So fairness in external factors and their treatment of women has not been addressed in C, which means it's not a response to Sam. In some ways, it's a lot like the healthcare option A. Just as much as, they are dying, feel lesser, they are living longer, is a deviation from Sam's topic. Talking about, them juggling their careers with their personal lives is also a deviation from how women are treated at the workplace. How close a deviation we make doesn't really matter. If we're deviating from the topic, it's not an appropriate response. So for that reason, we can eliminate C. Brings us to D. The proportion of women in top positions in the judicial and legislative branches of the country is at its highest, and the country elected its first woman president recently. At first glance, some people might interpret this statement as a deviation from Sam's topic. Why is it a deviation from Sam's topic? In what way is it a deviation? Because Sam is talking about how women are treated in the industries and whether in the corporate world they're getting top management positions or not. But then just here is talking about the judicial and the legislative branches. And talking about having the first woman president in the country. But are, careers in legislative and judicial branches also careers? Yes, they are. And in that way, there is a similarity in Sam and Jess's arguments. If this is what Jess says in response to Sam, then what she's saying is, in the corporate world, it might be that women are not treated fairly, but then in several other parts of the world, not necessarily parts of the world, several other industries, if you will, several other career choices, women are treated fairly, women are at an advantage. This is the highest, the number of positions, women in top positions, which sticks to what Sam is saying, is it has highest, we even have a woman president. So in some ways they're all talking about the top positions, but across different aspects of, different kinds of careers. So this is a valid response that Jess can bring in to Sam's point. It absolutely validates Jess's argument that this is the best ever. Women are better than in centuries past because this is the first woman president and it's the highest ever. So it sticks to Jess's reasoning and responds to Sam's reasoning. Very attractive answer option. Let's quickly check the last of our options. Women are allowed more freedom today and are not likely to be sacrificed at the altar of marriage or in a witch hunt. Does not address Sam's point and it is not a valid response. Again, it's a topic deviation. We don't care about whether they're sacrificed at the altar of marriage or not. Well, for the sake of the argument and as a response to Sam's discussion, it's not tied in to Sam's points. So E is also eliminated, which means D as in delta is the answer.